Today we have a 2017 Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk with a 3.2 motor. It's got close to 60,000. The customer is saying the front brakes are starting to pulsate, which means we have warped rotors. So we're going to show you where that's located and how to do it. When you're jacking up your Jeep, you want to make sure there's points that you're actually supposed to put your jack. As you can see, it's in the proper area, so make sure you look for that on the vehicle. Of course, first thing you gotta do is remove the tire. This is a 3/4. Next thing I like to do, just reach inside here with clean hands, of course, and pivot this so the bolts are easier to get at. Since we got it jacked up, you definitely want to put a jack here, like that. So in case it does happen to fall, you're not going to get smushed. We're going to do this bottom bolt, which happens to be a 14. Pull it out like that. Okay, at this point, there's a little bolt that holds on this. It's a 5mm Allen. So it's a 5 Allen. Take that off. And then we can take the caliper bracket off. Now these actually have an E20, which is like a star tool, specialty tool that goes on the back that holds a caliper bracket. You might want to take a picture if you're not used to doing this. Make sure that these are in the same spot when you put them back on. And hopefully air breaks it loose. There's one. Love air tools. Catch that bracket. And since that bolt's not holding this in, this comes right off. That's the nice thing about a newer car like that. But they said it was warped, and you can see where it's not wearing properly across the whole thing. Okay, break that loose. This, of course, has a grease on it for storage. We're going to start on this side and get all that off. So it doesn't affect our new brake pads when we put them on. And just flip this over to the other side. Okay. Take that over and install it. Not always do they give you these, so if you can, these little springs, make sure you just don't throw them away right off the bat. Most of the time they give you new ones. Pull this off. These are actually the squeakers from the factory, and for whatever reason, the brand we bought gave you no squeakers, but they did give you ones that you can put on there. So this is with a dual piston, so I'm going to put one on the top. Just snap that in like that. They didn't give you enough to put it on top and bottom. So I'm going to put it on this one, on the top. And the other one, I'll put it on the bottom. And of course, you got to make sure it's going in the right direction, so when it wears down enough, it'll start squeaking on this. This was kind of stuck, not too bad, with 60,000 on it. So I like to lube the heck out of these, so they last 40,000 or so. So you want to make sure that it slides in and out just like that right there, so your brakes perform properly. Install these right here. My little bench, put that on like that. Make sure it slides good. You can do it on the ground over there, but I might as well do it here. As long as it stays in, make sure it's clean. Do the same here. This one will be on the bottom. Like that. I'm going to put these springs on. Sometimes you can put these springs on right now, and if they're too powerful, it'll push it apart. And these don't seem to be. So now I'll just be able to go throw my 2 bolts in. Tighten it down. Just like that. It's easier to work with something right in front of you like that. Just spray the inside off like that, just in case I got the grease on it. So that's intact like that. Sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. But spread this out just enough to get it started. Like that. sure it squeezes together. Start these back bolts. Right there, I believe. Holding this, I start these two. I'm making sure that it doesn't come apart by holding it down there. Once they're both started, I'll hit them with the air gun. And I'll double check them with a wrench or socket or something. Now, not that the gun's not going to do a good job. I just want to double check. Oh yeah, plenty tight. And the other side, I actually had to use a breaker bar to get it off, so plenty tight. Okay. This isn't always needed, but I like doing it just to help prevent against any squeaks. Use that. Used it for years. While that's drying, next thing we'll do is push our dual pistons back nice and easy. So we push this back, and you don't have to bleed the brakes this way because you're not doing anything with the system. You're just pushing that back. It goes back nice and smooth. And we didn't even take this one out, which saves a little time. Grease this thing up good, make sure it slides, and we'll put it back together. So these springs, don't forget, those are in place. We grease the heck out of this thing, make sure it slides good, just like we want it to. Push that in, just make sure it slides down. Push this over, put our bolt in. Like I said, we didn't loosen this one, but we're still going to double check it anyway. Okay, that's tight. And that's tight. If it does spin, you might have to put a open-end wrench on that right there, but they're not moving, so that's good. I'm going to straighten it back out and install the wheel. If you're on the ground like we are, the car's not jacked up that high, but it's not a stud that it goes on, so you got to put it on that little lip, which is kind of inconvenient, but you gotta, once it gets up on that lip, you can spin it and start your bolts. Like that. Not the greatest way to do it, but once you got it, you got to put some pressure against it. It's kind of started. Make sure it's lined up. Kind of inconvenient. I definitely like studs better. On this type right here, I like to wiggle it around, get every one of them started. If you tighten one down, it might be at an angle or something like that, so make sure they're all started well. And then we'll hit it with the impact. Put in a crossing pattern. So I'm going to double check these once I lower the car down with a 4-way wrench, but the gun's usually perfect. So that's all it takes to do pads and rotors on a 2017 Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk with a 3.2 motor.